Thank you. You know, a few months ago, back in January, I received a very strange call from the Wall Street Journal. They wanted me to comment on the fact that President Trump had been watching Shark Week with Stormy Daniels and had commented to her that he hated sharks and he wouldn't support any organization that protected sharks and that they were evil creatures and they should be exterminated. So they wanted my response on that. So I said, well, I thank the President for bringing attention to the issue, but he should be aware that it's more dangerous to play golf than it is to go swimming with sharks. More people die on golf courses every year from lightning strikes and bee stings, and people are killed by sharks. So he should be aware of that and probably stay away from the golf course and stick to running the country if he can. What I really wanted to talk to you about is our efforts on protecting sharks worldwide. Sea Shepherd is now the largest non-government navy in the world. We have 14 ships, and they're deployed around the world, and most of them are deployed in anti-poaching activities. So we have the Bob Barker, which is now working off of West Africa with Gabon and Liberia, Sao Tome, and Cape Verde. And every week we're busting poachers in those waters. And most importantly, acting as a deterrent against these shark poaching operations, and they're staying away. On the east coast of Africa, the Ocean Warrior is doing the same with Tanzania, and we just arrested 2 vessels 3 days ago, and we're extending our partnerships to Mozambique, Somalia, and Kenya. And so these idea that we began in 2000 with the Galapagos, with a partnership with the Ecuadorian government and the Galapagos National Park Marine Reserve. And this is working really very well because what we do is provide the resources and the volunteers, and they provide us with the authority to intervene. And it's been very successful. We now have partnerships with Mexico, with Italy, these African countries, as I mentioned, with Indonesia, with Timor, and other countries around the world. And sometimes there's drawbacks. For instance, a month ago we arrested the largest fish factory vessel in the world. It was a Chinese vessel that was recently sold to the Russians. It was being fined $2 million in Peru and had just gotten on the Belize flag. Well, we were able to take the Belize flag and have it under arrest in Peru, but yesterday it mysteriously left with the Belize flag without paying its fine. So that's our big problem in the world today, is dealing with the incredible corruption amongst world governments when it comes to protecting marine resources, because there's a complete lack of economic and political motivation to actually uphold international conservation law. Right now we have a crew in Iceland. Iceland is now the world's worst whaling nation. Since June 20th, they've killed 27 fin whales, which are endangered, and last week they killed a blue whale. The first time a blue whale has been killed since 1975. And we should be able to stop it. Under United States law, Department of Commerce regulations, it says that anybody that does this, that kills whales in violation of international law, will be sanctioned, economically sanctioned by the United States government. So we went to the U.S. Department of Commerce, and they won't do anything. There's a complete lack of motivation. We don't want to upset trade relationships with these countries, which is why Japan and Norway and Iceland get to kill whales with impunity, because the laws are there, but they don't exist. The same with sharks. 17 months ago, we arrested 15 Chinese vessels in East Timor. And the good thing about them, we held them under arrest for 17 months, and we estimated that saved about 600,000 sharks that would have been killed by these vessels. In the last 2 weeks, they were all let go with their cargoes to return to China, and we discovered that was a $100,000 bribe to an official to get them out, and they escaped. So again, we're able to get victory here, victory there, but it's always 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards. But we're trying to do what we can. And what we developed with the partnerships is that we now are taking on military from these countries. So we have Gabonese sailors on board, we have Tanzanian sailors on board. They're armed, and they give us that kind of authority. We just completed our 4th year of Operation Milagro, which is to confiscate poaching nets in the Sea of Cortez. They're targeting a fish called the totoaba, which is an endangered fish. But they're killing the vaquita, which is the largest and the smallest and most endangered porpoise on the planet. There's less than 30 of them remaining. And it's taken us up until this last year to actually get the full authority from Mexico, because we're dealing with very violent poachers. They've shot down 3 of our drones, and about a month ago they fired upon one of our ships. Unfortunately, the Mexican Navy returned fire, and fortunately nobody was hurt on either side. But it just shows you how desperate they are. And the reason they're doing this, they're going after the totoaba, because a totoaba blotter is worth $20,000 a kilo in China. So with that kind of price tag, that's the kind of motivation that we're dealing with. And those poachers are not only taking vaquita, but they're also taking whales and sharks and everything else they can find. In fact, we pulled an 18-foot great white shark out of the nets that was dead, killed by them. But so far, we've confiscated 650 of those nets, and we've also confiscated 10 tons of lead, which are used in those nets, and we put some of the illegal fishermen to work, and they just made us 2,000 dive weights with our stamp on it. So if you want to have a dive weight from a recently used illegal net, where we now have them available. We're fighting shark poachers all over the world, in Madagascar, in Reunion Island in India, in the Indian Ocean, Australia, everywhere. Now, one of the things I discovered about shark attacks, which is really interesting, the 3 places where shark attacks are most prevalent are Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean, West Australia, and Queensland, Australia. And what do all these 3 places have in common? Shark kill programs, that is, culling programs, killing sharks in order to protect people. And what that has done, I believe, has caused more shark attacks. And here's the reason why, and Reunion Island is a good example of this. They go in and first of all, they wipe out the reef sharks and completely upset the ecological balance there. And then they go and kill the bull sharks that come in. Now the problem is when you kill a bull shark, these are very territorial animals. So now you've created a vacuum, which brings in other bull sharks. Now these newcomers are far more aggressive than the ones they replaced, because they're now trying to establish their territory. So in fact, what these government programs to kill sharks are doing is actually bringing in more aggressive sharks. And I think that in fact, I was sued by the Surfer Association Reunion Island, because I said, you know why these people are dying? Because of you. You're responsible for this. So they sued us, but we won in the French courts, because they couldn't prove otherwise. And so we have to take this on very different levels, direct intervention through the courts and whatever. But we also have to get across this one very important fact, is that sharks are absolutely essential for maintaining the ecological integrity of our marine ecosystems. And an ocean without sharks is not a very healthy ocean. And therefore, the more sharks, the better it is. And again, everybody knows, if they know anything about sharks, knows that they're not that dangerous. The number of shark attacks every year are far fewer than the number of attacks from pretty much hundreds of other different animals. I mean, dogs kill 1,200 people a year. So nobody's out to wipe out the dogs, for example. And so we just have to learn and to also understand, and as Kelly Slater said, if you're afraid of sharks, stay the hell out of the ocean. It's as simple as that.